If I was to build a marketing team today, I would not hire for the positions that I currently have. So I'm in this really awkward position where I'm trying to reframe my employees in order to get the automations built. And I just don't see it happening in the dental industry. I do not see marketing teams making this transition. You've got employees who you brought on 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And if they are not literally neck deep in AI automations, then they have no idea how the work that they're currently doing could be done, and neither do the executives.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our episode of the Dental Truth Project. Before we jump into our guest today, I'm going to toss this over to Ken for the Ask Ken segment.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Dal. So here's the Ask Ken segment. The question that came in is, why do my financials feel off, even though my CPA says that everything is fine? I appreciate the question here. And the reason why is because the CPA generally has a completely different agenda than you thinking about what's going on inside of your financial statements. The tax CPA is going to be focused on compliance, and they're generally going to be focused on the things that are the most critical when it comes to a compliance perspective. The reason why what they give you feels off is, first of all, number one, you're most likely that you're not on accrual accounting. And if you're not on accrual accounting, it means that all of the numbers that are flowing in and out that the CPA is working with, it's causing problems in terms of you seeing and understanding what's really happening in your business. Here's a couple examples. The first one is, if you had a lot of labs last month, guess what? All that is going to show up as expense in the month that you pay for it, not the month when you actually received that. Also, if you had significant capital expenditures, like let's say you had an operatory that you completely refitted and fixed everything up and made everything look beautiful inside of your office, those things are just going to flow through. And the tax CPA doesn't worry about it because they're not thinking about how your business is functioning from a financial perspective. They're only thinking about compliance elements and not the real P&L and the cash flow that your business is generating. So I'll stop there. If you have any more questions, feel free to send those in to us, and I'll kick it back over to you, Dallin.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken. We are very excited to introduce today's guest. We have with us Adrian Lefler. And Adrian, we're just going to kick this right over to you, let you introduce yourself, and then go straight to the dental truth that you want to share with our audience today.
Thank you, Dallin. I appreciate it. And Ken, thanks for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm the CEO of a company called My Social Practice. We're a dental digital marketing company. We've been in the industry since 2009, so almost 17 years now. And we've worked with more than 7,000 dental practices, and we do pretty much anything digital. We started off as My Social Practice because our first product that we offered was a social media service, but we've expanded that to pretty much any kind of a marketing service that's digital. SEO, ads, obviously social media, website development, that kind of stuff. So anything digital we do. One of the reasons why I may have been brought onto this podcast today is because I have an interesting perspective on how to structure a dental team, a dental marketing team. So as we've worked with DSOs and as we're kind of like investigating, working with more DSOs, I am noticing a significant problem, and it's a problem that we ourselves have kind of started working through over the last year. And that is that the marketing has changed. Okay. And what hasn't changed is the marketing organizational chart. So your org chart for your marketing team hasn't changed, but the work that's being done and how the work is being done has fundamentally changed. And this is not in the last 5 years. This is not even in the last 3 years. This is in the last 6 months. And so my truth concept here, and this is something that I'm honestly working through with my own organization, is how do you hire? What do you hire for? And what are the positions that people on a marketing team, what do you call them? Because they're doing different types of work. And what does that all look like? Because I think what we have is a double-blind problem. Executives aren't sure what work needs to be done, and dental marketing teams aren't sure what work needs to be done, and they're doing things the way that they've always been doing them. So my claim here is that there's a problem with the structure of DSO marketing teams because the work has changed. So that's what I want to talk about. And I don't know if you want to guide this conversation, Ken, or if you want me to just kind of jump into it, but I'm happy to talk more about it.
I mean, I think I've got the $1,000,000 question. What changed? But what's different now compared to 6 months ago? Why is it that the old methods are no longer relevant? And then what do you think the future looks like?
Okay. All right. Yeah, fair enough. That's a good place to start. 6 months ago, Claude Code launched. If you're not familiar with Claude Code, also Google Anti-Gravity launched in the last 4 months or so. So within the last 6 to 9 months, we've had two major software updates that are now available to the public, Claude Code and Google Anti-Gravity. And there's hundreds of others, but those are the two kind of main ones. What you're able to do with Claude Code allows you to automate almost everything in marketing. Okay. I wouldn't say it should be everything. It shouldn't be everything because you always need a human in the loop. But most of the tasks that workers were doing a year or 2 years ago can be automated. And so what you've got is you've got employees who you brought on 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And if they are not literally like neck deep in like AI automations, then they have no idea how the work that they're currently doing could be done, and neither do the executives. And if I'm saying this to you right now and you're like, what is he talking about? That means you don't understand what's about to happen or what's happening. There is a flurry of software development being done and capabilities with large language model automations that's just unbelievable. Let me give you one example. Okay, I'll give you a tactical example about something that we've done. So seeing this start happening, right? I mean, we work with 1,500 dental practices. So imagine us being like Heartland or, Name Your Aspen or one of these major DSOs. We have 1,500 dental practices, and I have to streamline all of the marketing efforts of these 1,500 dental practices across the team. So we are in this kind of place where it's like, how do we automate? How do we streamline? How do we stay consistent? How do we not miss anything? So we're like literally like digging deep in on how do we make ourselves more valuable to our clients? How do we never miss steps? And so we're like looking at this automation stuff like crazy. Okay. So here's one example. We write 700-800 pages of copy a month. Okay. This could be blog articles or service pages, website development, that kind of stuff. And I had 2 copywriters that were basically plugging away all day long, 5 days a week, writing copy. And we thought there's got to be a better way to do this. Now, we initially, this has been about 3 years ago, we started having them use like ChatGPT. And when Google Gemini came out and when Claude came out, we started having them use those tools to help them write. But the sophistication of the search engines in recognizing AI copy, meaning if you just go into ChatGPT and say, write me an article about dental implants or something like that, it gets recognized immediately. So you can't just go into ChatGPT and write something like that anymore. It's not possible.
Interesting. I didn't know that they had caught up.
Yeah, there's billions of pages of AI slop being created and dumped onto the internet. And Google doesn't even, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but I've read that they only actually look at maybe 20 to 40% of what's on the internet anyway, because there's just so much junk that they just ignore it immediately. So Google's job is to recognize quality content. And so their algorithms are hyper sophisticated, and they own Gemini, which is probably going to win out on the large language models in terms of like marketing. It's probably going to be the tool to use, Google Gemini, in terms of an LLM. They recognize this stuff immediately. So you can't just go on there and just write something like, hey, write me an article about this, or hey, write me an article about that. But you can leverage those tools to help like refine an article. Okay. So an example of this would be is like, I brought you onto my podcast last week. We had this great conversation. I'm going to take the transcript from that call and I'm going to use AI to help me write copy and write social media stuff and whatnot. But it's coming from a transcript, from an actual conversation, right?
Yes.
So it's not slop. It's not me, hey, write an article about Ken coming on my podcast from scratch. It's like I'm taking actual good content that we made and I'm going to spin it, right? Going back to my example here, we have 700-800 pages of copy being written every month. And I'm thinking there has to be a better way to get quality content and not have 2 copywriters writing this stuff all the time. So we built an automation. It took a while. It's a freaking unbelievable automation. There's like 50 steps in it, but I can basically say, write me something about this for this client, and it pulls old transcripts, it pulls Google review stuff, it pulls all such of stuff into this article, spins it and creates the article. And it'll actually draft it right in WordPress, right in the website of the client. So all that my copywriter now does is they don't do any of the writing. They just go and look at the draft and hit publish if it's right. So now what I've got is I've got one person in the copywriting department. I removed the other person and put him in the marketing team. And this person could do about 1,000 pages of copy a month, almost twice as much with one person. And the copy is actually better. Okay. In all the tests that we've done, running it through all kinds of AI recognition tools and tools that will check to see if it's original, it passes all the steps because we've built it correctly. Okay. So this is an example of one position. It's the copywriting position at My Social Practice. I had to go to that other copywriter and say, well, I didn't do it. The ops manager did. Went to this person and said, you are now being, in so many, not these words, but you're being fired as a copywriter, and we're going to rehire you as an editing automation specialist, which is a new position at My Social Practice because this person isn't writing any copy anymore. What this person's job is to do is to read and edit the final draft. And then if they start seeing problems in the automation, to feed that information back to the technical team so they can fix the automation. It's a totally different position, and the position does twice as much work and better work.
Yeah. What I think is so interesting about this is, number one, props to you for trying to use the existing tools and stay ahead of the curve. Because I'm sure it would be really easy to ignore the innovation, ignore Claude Code, ignore any of the automation that you could be doing, and you'd probably get along fine for a little while. But if you end up behind the curve, your marketing company is going to end up outperforming the other marketing companies that don't take the same steps that you're doing. So that's point one. Props to you for trying to stay ahead of the curve. Point number two, I think it's fascinating. You are creating roles that didn't exist before. Like, you just opened up a new position that no one's ever done before. It wasn't a job previously 6 months ago, but you are inventing new positions for people to do that center around this AI workflow. And again, that's really difficult to do. The easiest thing when you're running a business is say, what got us here will get us there. Let's just keep doing the same thing over and over again and grow. But you're spinning that totally on its head, trying to reinvent positions. I just think this is exactly the way that a company needs to be thinking about things if they're going to stay on the cutting edge.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Those kudos. Let me give you a really specific kind of tactical issue that an executive needs to understand. I'm going to use one of our current clients. I won't mention who they are, but this is a current DSO that we work with. They have a little over 200 locations. Okay. Now, we've been working with them for about 2 years. Okay. And we do some SEO optimization, website development for them. And about 6 months ago, they got a directive from their upline executive, the CEO of the company, that they need to become an AI first organization, and that they needed to, this executive, seeing what's possible wherever this executive was getting their information, seeing what's potentially possible with automation and AI, he came to his marketing team and said, go figure it out. Okay. Super kudos to him handling it this way, because some executives might just fire everybody and go rehire, which I don't think is necessarily the right thing to do, but that's what they did. So here's what happened though. It's been 6 months and I've had several conversations with the VP of marketing who I work with over there. They have spent 6 months learning how to use Claude. Okay. And teaching themselves as well as their whole team just every day, all day, trying to figure out how to build automations in Claude. And, you know, I don't know how many people they got on the team there, but it's 7 or 8 probably on the marketing team. I don't know exactly how much time they spent, but they spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. And if you take a look at the salary cost of teaching these people how to learn how to use Claude and then seeing where they've gotten to now at this point. And they've gotten a ways in terms of what they've been able to develop, but I would say that it's probably something that a technical person could have probably built in 2 weeks versus them learning how to do it in 6 months. Well, there's a cost there. There's a learning tax, right? The whole point of that is that I look at them and I see them going 6 months learning how to use Claude. And I'm like, they probably should have just hired somebody to come in and build the technical, bring in a GTM engineer, a go-to-market engineer, somebody who understands how to use Claude and anti-gravity, just build the system rather than trying to take an executive marketing person and turning them into like an engineer. So there's this decision of like, do you just hire the right people? What person do you hire versus trying to like just train the people that you've got into a position that didn't exist a year ago? Okay. That's a decision that needs to be made for every executive looking at their marketing team. The problem is it seems like it's a double blind issue. Executives, as far as I can tell, everybody I've talked to, and I've talked to quite a few executives, CMOs, who don't understand what's available. Like if you are literally not neck deep in this stuff, reading everything all day long, you have no idea what you can do with it. So they're blind to to what is potential, what the potential might be. And then if the marketing teams haven't been given the directive to go do this, then they're just going to do the work that they've been told to do, and they're going to do it well, like they always have, but they're not looking for ways in which to scale. At least most of them are not, the ones that I've talked to. So you've got this issue. It's like if I was to build a marketing team today, I would not hire the type for the positions that I currently have. So I'm in this really awkward position where I'm trying to reframe my employees in order to get the automations built. And I just don't see it happening in the dental industry. I do not see marketing teams making this transition. And it's just people just don't understand what's going on. So it's like this double blind issue. Like how do you help an executive know how to build their marketing team when the marketing teams don't even know how to do it? It's like really, really hard. So it's this super interesting, complex issue that's happening right now.
Well, the primary underlying issue here is that the talent that you need inside the organization is different than it used to be. Is that
Correct.
a fair way to say it?
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame the employees because most of the employees are busting their ass. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mentioned to you guys both before we started recording that one of the most highly sought after, fastest growing positions for marketing organizations is called a GTM engineer. It didn't exist a year ago. Like the position's didn't even exist. It's somebody who understands how to build all these automations. And the average position for this person is $182,000 salary. Most of these people that are under these GTM engineers, they're just building their own companies because there's more of an opportunity to build their own company than to go work for somebody. So it's just this really, really super interesting kind of like shaky ground moment where like I've seen in the marketing industry in dental, like half, maybe not half, maybe 30, 40% of the organizations have sold. They've all sold out to big PE companies because I think people are a little freaked out about what marketing is going to look like in the next few years. And so if you're not constantly like looking at this and trying to figure out how to become like more efficient and starting to hire for these positions, then, we become obsolete within the next couple of years. Yeah. And I think every marketing team out there becomes obsolete.
I think that, like you said, it's a very not unique problem, but it's a sticky problem. This double blind of like the marketing leaders don't really know what to do because the marketing teams, the marketing companies out there don't know what to do. It's just, it's innovation, right? No one knows exactly what the future is going to look like. We're all trying to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, but there's no certainty. So my final question because we're running out of time here, got to wrap this episode up because we've laid out this problem and I think we've done a good job exploring it. Let's say that today you were the owner and operator of a dental group. But most of the listeners of our podcast are people who are owning, operating, running dental groups day by day. Let's say that you were in that seat right now. What question would you be asking your marketing team? Like, what should these owners and operators be thinking about right now to try and stay ahead of the curve here?
Well, I'm going to answer two ways. One, they could simply ask the question of their marketing team, whoever's on that marketing team, do they know how to build software inside of Claude Code or Google Anti-Gravity? And if they say they can, then you want to see something. If they can't, you're off the mark. Okay. I'm happy to like discuss these types of things with anybody. You can have somebody call me, say, these are the team members that we've got. These are the skill sets that we've got. How does that map according to how you're building your organization? Because what I'm doing with my organization is I'm in the middle of that transformation into hiring these correct roles. And we've already done quite a few automations, but you could look at what My Social Practice is doing and you could mimic it, right? You could say, oh, okay, or are we doing that? Or we're not doing that. Okay, well, maybe there's a way to do it. I'm an open book on that. So if you want to reach out to me and just say, what are you guys doing? How should we do this with our own organization? I'm happy to have audit this and say, hey, look, these skill sets are great, but you're missing these skill sets, or this is a way to do this automation, but not that one, or whatever it might be. So I would say those two a question and then an activity. You can reach out to me and I'm happy to talk with you.
Sounds good. Well, y'all heard it from here. Adrian, if there are people listening to this episode that want to connect with you, that are curious about what you're doing at My Social Practice, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Just shoot me an email, Adrian, Adrian at mysocialpractice.com, or just give My Social Practice a call and ask for me and they'll get you to me.
Sounds good. Well, that is it for today's episode. To all of our listeners, thank you for coming. Adrian, thank you for guesting with us. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, experience. We're all in this together, and we'll see where the next 6 months take us after the previous 6 months. But I, for one, am hopeful that as long as we're doing our best to stay on the edge of innovation, we'll be able to figure this out and make it through.
Absolutely. No question.